I don't believe that love is an accident. I believe that loving someone is a very purposeful act. And I also believe that the art of romance, that there is actually an art to it, that you can do it wrong, that you can easily traverse into a new space, into a new lane that's not romance at all. See, in our society, one thing that's very common is the stigma of seducing someone, of it being something that's so very romantic. But on the contrary, it's the furthest thing from it. See, seduction is something of an allure, something of a let me pull you into my web, where romance is something that's so much more lasting, which is where we get the art of love. Now, if I could illustrate to you the differences and the variation of what love looks like under romance and what it looks like under seduction, I'd like to use an illustration of a 52 deck of cards. Now, in every relationship, there are 52 decks of cards. There are 52 cards in a deck, rather. The man has 26, the woman has 26, and they set off on that first date where they sit across from one another, and you begin to learn exactly the kind of person that's sitting across from you. Now, as you sit face to face with this person and holding your cards very close to your chest, as we all start out, oftentimes very vulnerable because we've been broken by other relationships where we didn't realize that we were merely seduced and not romanced. And as you sit at that table, what seduction generally looks like is a man who is similar, often stone-faced, holding his cards to his chest, keeping himself very closed off, the bad boy, as it were, which is oftentimes the one that women are drawn to so much. And this is why. As she sits there and she squirms off the awkward silence of him not unveiling himself and revealing himself, she thinks, okay, I can get him to talk, and this is how. And she begins to lay down her first card. So she tells a little bit about herself. She shares something. She goes into detail, and this is just the top of her 26 cards. But then she lays down another because he doesn't lay down anything yet. And he's just, okay, very stoic, but still very intrigued to her eyes and her expectation. So she lays down a third card. Before he's ever laid down his first card, she's possibly gone through at least 5 or 6 cards where she's really divulged and she's allowed you to know who she is. And please understand that this isn't always just the woman. Sometimes this is the man who's in that same position. The person who's being seduced, oftentimes they're being drawn in slowly because this person, whether they're emotionally unavailable, whether they're mentally unstable because they're playing these games, knowing that they have ill will and they just simply want one thing. They want all your cards on the table. They want to have all your vulnerability because essentially that's what these cards are. It's me giving you all of me and expecting that you would do the same. Well, this game continues to go on that for every one card that he lays down, she's already laying down 6. So you can tell through mathematics, it only takes a few times for this to work in his favor before he ends up in bed with this young lady, and he's taken everything that she had to give and he's given nothing. Or vice versa, that he lays in bed and she's taken everything that he has to give and has left him with nothing. This is seduction. This is not love. It's simply an allure, a drawing in. I want to get from you whatever it is that I can get without having to give up myself. This can happen from being hurt, people having walked through so many things, so many broken relationships, and they feel like I've got to protect me, but at the same time, I still want to get a benefit out of this relationship, but they're really not in a relationship at all. It's very one-sided, which in contrast to love, we know and we recognize, and I hope you know and you recognize the difference between love and lust. That word is very harsh, and I understand exactly why it is harsh, because it flaunts itself around as though it is love, when in fact it's nothing like it. It's not willing to suffer long. It's not patient. It's not kind. It doesn't think about anything aside from itself. It's very boastful. It's very prideful. That's lust. That's not love. So when we're looking at romance and the art of romance, it's something that's very beautiful. There's two people who sit across from one another, and in their deck of cards, they have 26 cards. And in a chivalrous mindset, the man is the one who's very much willing to begin to share himself. He's transparent. He has nothing to hide. This is a man who a woman can trust and can begin to release herself to emotionally. So he lays a card down and she lays a card down. And he lays a card down and she lays a card down. And he lays 2 cards and she lays 2 cards. And he lays 3 cards and she lays 3 cards. You get the gist of where I'm going with this. When you have a relationship where 2 people are willing to open themselves up, they're willing to give sacrificially, to say that I'm putting everything on the line, I'm risking everything, and I'm being very forthright and letting you know where we stand, where you never have to guess. You always know what the boundaries are of this relationship, of our connection. You know where it is that I desire to take this. You know where it is that I want to go. I want you to jump in this vehicle and for us to drive and for us to go to this destination together. And yes, there is a game that you play, but this is the game that you play. It's not a cat and mouse. It's simply, I've laid a card down and I'm hoping with all my heart that you would lay a card down. I've laid down 2 cards and I'm hoping with everything in me that you would lay down 2 cards. It's expecting to give love, hoping for something in return, hoping that love will be returned, but nothing else. There's nothing else that you're expecting in return. You just want to give love and you want love to be returned. You hope with all your heart, and there's absolutely nothing wrong with that. But seduction only wants to get and it never wants to give. So in this art of romance in your relationships, understand that you're being put in a sacrificial partnership that's going to require everything of you if you expect to get everything of them. This is not a 50-50 connection. If you are going to be in a symbiotic relationship that ebbs and flows, where you guys are so healthy that you boost one another to the next level, it's going to require 100% of you and 100% of them. So what does that mean? That means that you lay a card down and you patiently wait. And if they're not willing to lay their cards down, if they're going to hide themselves from you, if they're going to cloak themselves from you, then all they have in their heart towards you is lust. They have to be willing to get past the fear of being hurt because they value you so much more than they fear being hurt by you. That's what love is. That's what being in love truly is that the amount of value that I have in you is so far greater than the fear that I have that you will break my heart, that you will tear me down, that you will betray me. Humanity is so imperfect. We're going to be broken down. We're going to be hurt by the people we love the most. But I want to challenge you that in your relationships, as you go from being in a position where you're dating and getting to know each other to being in a long-term relationship, that you make sure that you sidestep the opportunities to be seduced, that you put yourself in a position where you expect and you require to be romanced. That February 14th is not the only day on your calendar that you expect to get this overwhelming love that completely knocks you off your feet and that sends your heart in a panic racing, your pulse surging. You should be in a healthy relationship that goes deeper and deeper and deeper and deeper. And you can, but you have to require of yourself that romance is what I'm looking for and seduction is what I'm done with. This is what it means to be relatable. Hi, this is Jeremy Gaston. Did you enjoy this episode? If so, feel free to share it with a friend and subscribe to our next episode. If you'd like free books and other materials on how to create deeper relationships and have healthier friendships and to create better employment, be sure to stop by my website, jrmygstn.com, and fill in your name and your email address, and you'll receive free content every week. And as always, go out there and serve better, to love better, to live better.